The Brixton Local Heroes Craft Connections banner consists of 17 individual textile squares celebrating local people and the Local Heroes logo. CLR James, 1901 to 1989. Born in Trinidad and Tobago, died in Brixton. Historian, journalist, author, and Marxist. First black man to have been dedicated a blue plaque in Lambeth, situated above Brixton Advice Centre on the corner of Railton Road. Sometimes wrote under the pen name J.R. Johnson. His works are influential in various theoretical, social, and historiographical contexts. Wrote The Black Jacobins and was also a renowned authority on cricket, of which he wrote in his memoir titled Beyond a Boundary. Crofter Miriam Lewison says, I was intrigued to learn of CLR James's local roots, as he lived just up the road from me in Railton Road. I painted him using fabric paint. It was so good to be able to join in a small in-person class between lockdowns, as I missed the weekly group. I used paint and represented him with the distinguished air of the elder statesman, outlined in green embroidery chain stitch, and gave him piercing blue eyes. Claudia Jones, 1915 to 1964. Activist, radical, and anti-fascist, imprisoned, then deported from America because of her political activism, she met up with UK activists. In the 1960s, Britain was racially divided, and after the unrest in 1959, she organized an indoor carnival, a forerunner to what would later be known worldwide as Notting Hill Carnival. She is known as the Mother of Caribbean Carnival in Britain. Her legacy, the Claudia Jones organization, was set up as a charity working to fight poverty and deprivation 50 years after the first carnival she organized, and because of her links to the Brixton community as first editor of the West Indian Gazette. She was editor initially from premises in Brixton until her death in 1964. Through her work on the West Indian Gazette, she met other activists in South London, such as Race Today Collective members CLR James, Darcus Howe in Railton Road, and Sam King. Crofter Delmay Parker says, I am inspired by Claudia Jones's life. This is why I chose to make an artwork about her. She was a West Indian woman who worked amongst us and who reached and advised many through her activism and journalism. She ran a newspaper, the West Indian Gazette. I'm particularly proud that her office was at the end of the road where I worked as a curator at the gallery I ran. This was several decades later. I believe that the most wonderful and lasting wow factor legacy she left us was the Caribbean-style carnival brought to the streets of London in the stunning Notting Hill Carnival. My artwork gives a feel about Claudia's past, her difficulties, her journalism, her activism, and creative determination. It was my first time using embroidery. I act very quickly, throw myself in before I think too much and put myself off. I used hand embroidery stitches, machine embroidery, collage, and acrylic paint mixed with fabric paint solution. I was very motivated by the Local Heroes project. It was at a time during the COVID-19 pandemic when it was hard to have continuity. The project has helped me to continue creating other artwork, even in the midst of fixing up a new art studio. David Bowie, 1947 to 2016. David Robert Jones was born and lived his early life in Stansted Road, Brixton, before moving to Bromley. He is regarded as having been a great initiator and forerunner of androgyny, which typified the music scene of the 70s, starting his professional career. He performed as musician-actor with 20 platinum albums in various configurations. The Starman, as he was affectionately called, died of liver cancer in 2016, performing to the last. He contributed to local charities, indicating a love of the Brixton he remembered growing up. Brixton as a place where music lives, is made, produced, promoted, and loved. Crafter Violet Rosling says, I made the David Bowie image. What I got out of the project was the pleasure of working with a group of like-minded people who enjoy crafts and working with my husband. I chose David Bowie because he was born in Brixton and went on to influence people all over the world in many different ways. I used a piece of material supplied to trace the outline of David Bowie onto it. Then I used material to sew on layers for the clothing and glued felt for the hair and lightning flash on his face. I used felt pens on the face and to highlight the hair. I sewed stars around the head, and last of all, I cut out and colored letters to place the name at the top. Crafter Marilyn Rogers says, the Brixton Local Heroes Craft Connections banner was created during the COVID-19 lockdowns by the Brixton Library Craft group and unveiled on the 2nd of September 2021. The banner, which consists of 17 individual textile squares celebrating local people and the Local Heroes logo, was featured as part of the Lambeth Heritage Festival 2021. Jimmy Rogers, 1939 to 2019. Jimmy Rogers was a coach and mentor for young people at Brixton Basketball, a team based at Brixton Recreation Centre, Top Cats legend. Jimmy fought to retain funding for basketball in inner cities. One of his mentees, Lol Deng, is an internationally regarded basketball player. Crafter Nina Smith says, on doing more personal research, I learned how Jimmy Rogers got so much from helping others and was well respected. Jimmy helped introduce basketball to the young, and his legacy lives on. As with the other panels, the ones I did are of a group of inspirational people who lived in Brixton, and I'm glad that this project happened, as it helped a group of local ladies get together and bring these people, whether they be famous or not, back to this community that is Brixton. Darcus Howe, 1943 to 2017. Better remembered as broadcaster, writer, and civil liberties campaigner, Darcus Howe arrived in Streatham from his native Trinidad and Tobago as a teenager. He studied law and became founding editor of Race Today, a collective based in 167 Railton Road, which is now part of the Brixton Advice Centre. The collective produced the famous Race Today journal that became a leading voice of black politics in 1970s Britain. Darcus Howe was the first chairman of the Notting Hill Carnival and a leading figure in the New Cross Massacre Action Committee. He also contributed to the Black on Black series for Channel 4. Local Heroes also recognize him for his role in Brixton's Railton Road's hub and his relationship to CLR James, who was his uncle. The choice of Darcus Howe to unveil CLR James's blue plaque, the first in Lambeth to have been dedicated to a black man, drew the crowds to Railton Road, and Darcus's speech was inspirational. Crafter Fitzroyal Polinsky says, the Darcus Howe image is embroidered, painted, and drawn as a mixed medium on fabric. It was inspired by his fortitude to instinctively fight racism and police brutality for equal rights and justice for Black people. The final portrayal included his Caribbean roots, culture, heritage, and sense of fun. I felt privileged to be part of the Local Heroes project.